don't say it, but you feel it. That quiet storm in your mind that never really stops. Even when everything around you looks calm, something inside you is still running, replaying conversations, rechecking decisions, rebuilding moments that already passed like they still matter right now. And the strange part is, nobody around you can see it. To them, you look normal. You respond when you're spoken to. You laugh at the right moments. You show up. You function. But inside your head, there is no real silence. It's like living with a room full of people talking at the same time, except all of them are your own thoughts. What if I said the wrong thing? What if they misunderstood me? What if I fail again? What if I should have done it differently? And once one thought starts, it never comes alone. It brings 10 more with it. It begins with something small. A message you sent, a tone you used, a reply that took too long to come back. You stare at your phone longer than you should. At first, you try to ignore it, but your mind doesn't. It starts building stories. Maybe they're upset. Maybe you annoyed them. Maybe you should have said it differently. And suddenly, it's not a simple message anymore. It becomes a whole investigation in your head. You reread it again and again, searching for something that was never actually there. A hidden meaning, a mistake, a clue. Then the reply finally comes. But instead of relief, you feel something else. Your mind has already moved on. It has already found the next thing to worry about. Tomorrow's meeting, that conversation you had last week, that moment you laughed too loudly, and now you think people remember it. And at night, when everything is quiet, your body is tired, but your thoughts are not. That's when it gets louder. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, and your mind decides it's the perfect time to replay your entire life. Every awkward moment, every mistake, every decision you're not sure about anymore. You try to sleep, but your brain is still working like it's trying to solve something important. Like if it thinks hard enough, it can go back and fix the past. And slowly, without realizing it, you start believing something dangerous. That this is just who you are. Someone who thinks too much. Someone who can't switch off. Someone who has to analyze everything, or something bad might happen. But what actually happens is the opposite. The more you think, the heavier everything becomes. Simple decisions start feeling complicated. What to say, what not to say, how to act so nobody misunderstands you. Even small choices start feeling like they carry consequences you can't fully predict. How are you becomes something you mentally prepare for, not because the question is hard, but because your mind has made it complicated. People around you don't understand it. They say, just relax. They say, don't overthink. They say, it's not that deep. But for you, it is deep, because your mind turns everything into meaning. Silence becomes a message. Delays become rejection. Small changes in tone become entire emotional stories. So you start withdrawing a little. Not physically, but mentally. You're still in conversations, but part of you is somewhere else, watching, analyzing, scanning for what could go wrong. Even good moments don't feel fully light because your mind is already checking for the next problem, like it doesn't trust peace. And then comes the exhaustion, not the kind that sleep fixes, the kind that builds slowly from thinking too much about everything for too long. You sit alone one day and realize something simple but heavy. I'm tired, but it's not my body, it's my mind. That's the moment things begin to shift, not in a dramatic way, not like everything suddenly becomes easy. It's quieter than that, almost unnoticeable at first. You start noticing patterns. Most of the things you worried about never actually happened. Most of the conversations you replayed, nobody else remembered them. Most of the scenarios your mind built existed only in your head. And for the first time, there's a small gap between your thoughts and reality, a space you didn't notice before. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. Just because your mind creates a scenario doesn't mean it will happen. Just because a thought feels strong doesn't mean it deserves control over you. You don't say it, but you feel it. That slight distance, that moment where you start watching your thoughts instead of living inside every single one of them. A message doesn't get a reply. You pause before reacting. A memory shows up. You don't chase it for hours. A fear appears. You don't automatically treat it like a warning. At first, it feels strange because your mind is used to being in control, used to being followed, used to being believed without question. But now something different is happening. You are starting to observe instead of obey. And slowly, the grip begins to loosen, not because your thoughts disappear, but because you stop giving every thought authority. And one day, you sit again in silence. But this time, it's not heavy. It's just quiet. And in that quiet, you realize something that changes everything. You were never overthinking because you were broken. You were overthinking because your mind thought it was protecting you. But protection built on fear doesn't bring peace. It brings exhaustion. And the real shift is this: you are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. You don't need to solve every situation in your head before living your life. You don't need to predict every outcome before taking a step. You don't need to replay every moment to make sure you didn't mess up. Life was never meant to be lived fully inside your mind. It was meant to be lived in the moment you're actually in. And slowly, you begin to feel something you didn't expect. Space, not empty space, peaceful space. Space between thoughts. Space between fear and reaction. Space where you can actually breathe without analyzing everything. And that's when you understand it. Overthinking was never a sign of depth. It was a signal of overload. And peace doesn't come from thinking less. It comes from trusting yourself more than the noise in your head. You don't say it, but you feel it. That quiet freedom of not needing to figure out everything right now. And for the first time in a long time, your mind stops feeling like a prison and starts feeling like something you can finally guide instead of fear. If this felt like your story, subscribe for more.